Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. In today's video I'm gonna redo a video that I did right at the beginning of my channel. It's a Meet My Reptiles video. I'm redoing this video because the one that I already made was meant to be in two parts, and I may or may not have forgotten to do part two, so you only saw about five or six of my animals. Plus it wasn't really in depth. It's gonna be a little bit like the reptile room tour I did a couple weeks back. But instead of me showing the setups, I'm just going to talk more in depth about the specific animal, because during that reptile room tour you didn't get to see all my animals. Animals like Midnight and Bowser, Rex, my Brazilian rainbow boa, as they're all in the shelter. So I just want to get them out and just talk about them more in detail. So the first reptile that I'm going to talk about is Ruby, my iguana. Obviously most of you have seen her quite a bit, but I want to talk a little bit about her backstory and some news that's happened recent. So Ruby is my green iguana. She is currently around 3 years old, and I think she comes in at around 3 foot, nearly 4 foot long. Now if you've paid close attention in the videos, she does have a few injuries on herself. This was because of the previous owner, and I think it's the reason we got her so cheap. We paid £100, English pounds, excuse me, for herself and her vivarium. Her vivarium was all wrong. It was more horizontal than it was vertical. There was no climbing space. She has, the injuries that she has is, she has a burn on her nose, which, funny story, the day we got her, we put a bigger water bowl in for her. Excuse me, I've got really clogged up throat. We put in a bigger water bowl for her, and if I insert a picture now, that's what she looked like when we got her. She had a massive bulge on her nose, which she had had for a few years, and the day we got her, that bulge actually fell off due to having better water, better living conditions. And it just shows that if you provide better living conditions, it does benefit them a lot. She also has two of her spikes on the back that run down the spine of her back have actually been broken and pushed to the side. Now I thought this was just something that she had done herself, or the previous owners had mishandled her, but every time I get her out, and I always look, it's the size of a thumb, that a thumb's gone over it. So I think that the previous owners actually grabbed Ruby by the back of the neck. Now I'm not sure about this, but one, that's a stupid idea, because if you grab an iguana by the neck, it's going to turn around and bite you, and I've been bitten by Ruby and it's really not nice. And two, it's really harmful for the iguana. And then lastly, she has dropped about half of her tail, and she has grown it back. And I don't know if you can notice, I'll put a picture in now. She started to grow 2 end bits on her tail. Now this isn't going to affect her in any way, it just makes them more unique to me. So I'm not going to talk too much more about Ruby, as you've seen quite a lot about her. And the same thing with other animals. If you've seen a lot about them, I won't talk too much about them. I just want to show you other animals you may or may not have seen about. So next up will be Tiberius. So quickly, I'm just going to add this bit on the end of the section I recorded about Ruby. I forgot to say that during this process, and you may see, she seems a lot thinner. She doesn't seem as active compared to the start when I recorded, compared to what she looks like now. She has been gravid, and I've been saying this in the past few videos. She's been very gravid. She's definitely pregnant. And I come in about 4 or 5 days ago, and I found an egg actually laying on her basking spot. Now she completely ignored the nesting box I put in there for her, although she has been digging in it, but completely ignored it, and she is currently still laying eggs. It was a worry, as she was the first iguana / lizard I've had any breeding experience with. Obviously she didn't have a male, so none of the eggs were fertilised. Altogether she's laid 22 eggs. She's actually laid one about 10 minutes ago. But she's laid 22 eggs altogether, so she should be coming to the end of it. So I just want to add this little bit in there. I forgot to do it in my previous recording. So yeah. So Tiberius is my one and only Pac-Man frog. Now, I've had Tiberius for coming up to 1.5 years now. We bought him from a local pet store, and unlike other pet stores I've visited, this is a family-run pet store, and they are absolutely amazing. When we bought him, he was quite small, and he's grown a considerable amount. We ain't had no troubles with him, apart from on the back behind one of his legs. He's had an ulcer appear, but that's completely gone now. I'll put a picture in now of what's left of it. There's nothing there really, it's just a little bit of skin. We just made sure he's fine. I'm not sure of his age, but he weighs in about 130 grams, so he's quite a big boy now. We feed him a mice once a month, which is it's more of a treat for him. We feed him locust and crickets, gut loaded locust or crickets once every few days. Calcium on them as well. And yeah, that's Tiberius really. There's not much to say about him. He doesn't do much. He's a Pac-Man frog. He sits in the dirt all day. But they are amazing pets. So unique as well. And he's got a really good. He's got a really good personality. He doesn't bite. I've held Pac-Man frogs in the past, and they've been quite aggressive if you pick them up. But Tiberius is an angel. Doesn't bite. Doesn't jump away. Just sits there. Absolutely perfect for my first Pac-Man frog. So next up, I think I'm going to talk about Lightning, Midnight, and Bowser. So the reason I'm going to bunch these lot together is because they are all the same species. They're all Colombian red-tailed boas. Now, I've had red-tailed boas. They were my first boas that I ever bought, and they are amazing beginner pets. They are going to be my series best pets to keep, but not the next ones. The next one's going to be a bit of a surprise for everyone. But Colombian red-tailed boas are absolutely amazing if you want a first boa. They're not aggressive at all. Now, Midnight and Bowser are a bit more territorial than Lightning. They're not aggressive. They're not out to bite people. But if you invade their space, they do get very defensive. Now, this is partly due to my fault, as they do live downstairs with two of my other animals. Reason being, I ain't got enough room in my room to have them, unfortunately. But they are a bit territorial, and that is my fault. I don't get them out as much. I still go see them and that, but nowhere near as much as Lightning, which is the Colombian redtail that lives upstairs, and you can see on screen now. She is absolutely adorable, and she will be my main pet when I start up my reptile show business, due to just her being absolutely calm. She's never bit me. She's never tried to bite me. She's so calm. It's quite amazing. Midnight and Bowser, they're a lot bigger. Well, not a lot. Midnight and Bowser are a bit bigger than Lightning. Lightning comes in at around 3 foot, where Midnight and Bowser come in also around 3.5 foot, but they're got a lot more girth on them. I'm not sure why. I bought Lightning separately with a separate Viv. Midnight and Bowser actually come together. Now, they only had them two together, and I had to split them because they were showing signs of mating. Now, if you know anything about Colombian red-tailed boas mating, they are live bearers, so they will not lay eggs at all. They'll lay live babies, sorry. And they do lay quite a lot of them. And to lay live babies, the female needs to be quite big to be able to fertilise, incubate all of them inside of her. And Midnight and Bowser are not that size, nowhere near that size at all. So I had to split them up, unfortunately. I do introduce them when I have them in my hands together. They do like meet each other and that, but I can't keep them together because I don't want anything bad happening at all. So yeah, that's Midnight and Bowser and Lightning. Next up will be Rex, which is probably the least detailed snake I've done on my channel, but probably the most beautiful snake. So Rex is my Brazilian rainbow boa. Now, he's probably the snake I've shown least on this channel. No particular reason, it's just that he's constantly in his shelter, so I've pulled him out of his shelter and just going to record and talk about him a little bit. So he's a Brazilian rainbow boa. If you don't know what that is, it's probably the single most beautiful snake you can buy that's non-venomous. He is absolutely gorgeous, and the reason they are called rainbow boas is because on their skin they have an iridescent sheen on them that mimics, if you ever spilt petrol on the floor, you can see the rainbow colour is identical to that, but on the snake. And this is made possible by special structures in the skin called iridophores. I think that's how they're pronounced. I'm not 100% sure, but that's what causes the shine in most of the snakes that have it. Now, the red-tailed boas, they kind of have it. You can see slightly, but nowhere near to the extent of Rex. And I will put like 2 or 3 pictures in of Rex when you can really see it. The footage you're seeing now, he is in shed, so it's probably the worst time to try and show you the rainbow in him. but he's coming up to be at about 3 and a bit foot as well. We got him when he was very, very small. So I've had him for ages now, and he lives absolutely brilliant. He's growing really, really quickly. And I am hoping to buy him a female this year to breed. That would be amazing to have some baby rainbow birds this year. So next up is going to be Groot. I'm not going to talk too much about Groot because he's always in my videos because he's one of my coolest animals I have. Not many people have a false water cobra. So yeah, next up is Groot. So a false water cobra, if not many of you know, is a venomous snake. The venom is not as bad as what some people say. I know friends, and I've talked to other people in the reptile community, they have been bitten by false water cobras and chewed on by false water cobras. And the reason they get chewed on is because false water cobras are rear-fanged venomous, and they have quite a poor delivery system, same as a mangrove cat-eyed snake. They've got quite a potent venom, but the delivery system is extremely weak. Same as a boom slang. They have quite a weak delivery system, so I don't mind having them. I will always recommend, if you do get some sort of venomous snake, that being a mangrove snake, false water cobra, hognose snake, always read up, because this venom's not too bad, but if you have an allergic reaction, that can cause a lot of problems. Now, I'm not sure if I'm allergic to it, but as I've never been bitten by them. But if I am, that's my own fault. But I do tend to handle all my snakes by hand, which a lot of people don't recommend, and I don't recommend. But I'm an idiot, and I like to hold my snakes by hand because it gives them more of a bond rather than holding them with a stick. Probably not the most cleverest idea that anyone's ever had, but that's the way I just like treating my animals. If I'm going to buy an animal, I want to be able to hold it myself and not keep it far away from me and just keep it in a box. So that's what I'm going to say about Groot, really. There is an upcoming video of him in the next few weeks, but next up is going to be Storm, which I'm also not going to talk about that much because he's in quite a lot of my videos, but he's pretty fun. So Storm is my personal ball python. Now, we do have 2 ball pythons in the house. We have a pied python downstairs, but that is my mother's. I do look after it quite a bit because she likes getting it out and all this, but when we feed them, they obviously snake strikes are quite powerful, and my mum does get a bit scared thinking she's going to get bit, so I do feed him downstairs. But Storm is my personal ball python. He's only about 3 foot, but he currently weighs, he's my heaviest weighing snake at 1,300 grams. He's huge. But I do hope to get a female probably next year, as I'm not in the rush to get ball python eggs. I do want to try and breed my hognoses this year and probably my rainbow bar, but Storm I want to keep just because he's amazing. He's another snake that's never bit me. He's never tried to bite me either, same as Lightning. Completely docile, and he'll be coming to reptile shows with me as well. So that's what I'm going to say about Storm and Groot so far, because the reason I'm doing this is because Groot and Storm are 2 snakes I often talk about and show during my videos, but other snakes and amphibians that I may have, you may not know too much about them. So if I say I'm not going to talk too much about them, it's because you can find other videos on the channel talking about them in more detail. So next up is actually going to be Tango and Echo, which are 2 other snakes that you may or may not know too much about. So Tango and Echo. Now these are 2 offsprings that we bred from 2 previous snakes that we had named Skittles and Sid. They were a Carolina corn snake, and just what some people call a bog standard corn snake. I love them dearly. Skittles was my first ever snake that I'd ever bought. I was terrified the day I bought her, but we got on so much, and she's what sparked my interest in the hobby. And Tango and Echo, the 2 offsprings that we got, the reason we only got 2 is because we didn't know a lot about breeding, and we just had them on one vivarium, which, if you look in my reptile room tour, the 3 vivariums downstairs underneath the TV, all of that was for Skittles and Sid. Now, when they did lay eggs, when Sid laid eggs, because it turned out she was actually a female, when she laid eggs, she laid, I think, around 21, 22 eggs, and we didn't have an incubator at all. So the first thing we did was collect up the eggs, ran to the closest reptile shop and said, "Do you want to incubate the eggs? You can keep them, half of them, and we can have half back." And they agreed. Now, once we done that, we come back, and the shop had just shut after that. So we come back home quite happy, and Sid had laid 4 more eggs. Now, obviously, we couldn't bring that back to the reptile shop because they'd been closed. So we didn't have an incubator. So we thought the first thing we'd do is put it in a drying cupboard or an airing cupboard. And if you don't know what this is, it's a cupboard that most British households have. It's a cupboard that's useless, but it's tucked away in someone's bedroom or in the loft, and it's just where the boiler is. And we put 4 of the eggs in there with some dirt, and we just hope for the best. And surprisingly enough, all 4 snakes hatched. Now 2 of them did pass away, and we're not sure why. It could be just because they were too small. They didn't have the best incubation. But the 2 that you see now, Tango and Echo, did survive, and they're very, excuse my phone, and they're very, very healthy. But all the snakes we gave to the reptile shop and to incubate, unfortunately, did pass away, which we found a bit strange because they have a professional incubator over there, and we had an airing cupboard. But if that's what happened, then we can't change anything. So Tango and Echo are quite dear to me, as they're 2 of the last snakes that we actually bred, and I'm so happy with them. Hey guys, I just quickly want to say that I am splitting this video into 2 parts, as I'm only halfway through my reptiles and it's already 60 minutes long. So the second part will be out in 2 days, I think. So if you enjoyed it, please leave a comment, and remember, life is short but the world is wide.